Legends of Runeterra is too good to ignore, even if you're not into League of Legends. If you already love League of Legends, you can find a lot to enjoy here, but that familiarity is not a requirement. Champions from League form the backbone of many decks, and Riot has done an excellent job translating the spirit of the characters into card form. The gameplay is excellent, and the tutorial alone is an achievement. Not only does it quickly get you up to speed on the mechanics of the game, it's really fun to play. Legends of Runeterra is like a simpler version of Magic the Gathering. That's to its benefit, as Runeterra avoids cribbing many of Magic's cumbersome rules in favor of faster, more aggressive duels. For example, there's no summoning sickness. Freshly placed creatures, called followers or champions, can attack immediately after being summoned and aren't tapped out after, letting them still block during your opponent's attack phase. It virtually guarantees that every turn both sides will take losses, making those clever plays where you bait your opponent or save a unit from dying feel extra rewarding. The result is a game that's fun to watch, and that's made putting in the time to learn the high-level game even more appealing. Compared to Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering Arena, Runeterra is much easier to parse, especially on a smartphone screen. The champions in Runeterra are really special and are by far the most unique part of Legends of Runeterra's combat. Each of the initial set of 24 is modeled after a character in League of Legends, adapting their playstyle to fit inside the rules of a card game. In Runeterra, champions can be played very easily. Bring them into the right situation and they become effective much more quickly than Magic's high-level planeswalkers. They're also much more vital to the game than core cards in Hearthstone. These champions all feature level-up requirements that you can build a deck around, which makes it easy to identify strategies. For instance, the champion Teemo starts off by popping 5 mushrooms into the opponent's deck if he hits them. But after 15 mushrooms have been placed, Teemo levels up, causing his taps to double the mushrooms in the opponent's deck on a successful connect. This leads to a crucial winning condition you not should ignore. The champion Braum, for example, regenerates health and gets to choose which enemy unit blocks him, making him a great tank. Each one also levels up after meeting certain conditions, often gaining more power and new abilities that make them formidable. Beside these champion level-ups, the core of the strategy lies in 2 major elements: synergy and timing. You're encouraged to build decks that use up to 2 factions, based on locations from the League of Legends universe. You can easily build a focus deck from one faction that does something well, but grabbing cards from a second faction can cover your blind spots and make something more effective. If you're making a Fredgelord deck focused on huge followers and buffs, you may want to add some Shadow Isles cards to give you some removal potential to take out enemy threats. Champions are often more powerful than regular followers, but they're far from some kind of game-winning trump card. Knowing when to play them and how to keep them alive is especially rewarding because you just know your opponent is doing everything they can to kill them. On the surface, you could mistake things as a simple game of playing cards on curve as your mana goes up, but the element of passing rounds and actions makes timing a much more interesting proposition. If you try playing a big game-ending beastie at the start of your turn, you could be walking right into an opponent's trap. Maybe they can blow up the entire battlefield with a spell and cause you to lose everything. On the other hand, if you attack right away, you could be leaving a ton of extra damage on the table, making your turn far less effective. Knowing and guessing what your opponent might play at any given time is a huge factor that can make or break games. Chains of spells, actions, and reactions to any given situation form extremely satisfying interactions that let you flex your brain instead of simply dumping something new on the board each round. Some genius twists to combat further distinguish Runeterra from other card games. Most card games, for example, punish you for not spending all your mana in a given turn. In Legends of Runeterra, however, up to 3 points of my unspent mana are preserved for the next round, to be used exclusively on spells. This one change feels as substantial as the Elder Scrolls Legends having 2 separate playing boards. Being able to play cards on a turn where it should be impossible to play them because you stored mana earlier is one obvious benefit, but you also may like that you are not as harshly punished by a bad opening hand. It keeps Legends of Runeterra feeling unpredictable and dynamic, instead of one player snowballing due to bad luck. Fights almost always feel fair, even if their deck is much better than yours. Though its combat is a lot of fun, where Legends of Runeterra sets a new standard is in its economy and rewards. Booster packs are gone entirely and replaced with a layering of weekly chests and several free battle passes that constantly dole out crafting materials, cards, and wildcards, which can be redeemed for any card of a corresponding rarity. Being able to pick which cards you want to add to your collection is refreshing. Though rarer wildcards come infrequently, you are able to build a few decks that feel powerful and highly competitive, instead of cobbling together whatever you can. Earning the maximum amount of possible rewards each week isn't a brutal grind either. It's one of the less obvious benefits of not being overtly pay to win like pretty much any other card game. You can still buy wildcards, but theirs has a weekly cap on them, so even hardcore spenders won't outpace the casual gamers. It's exciting to play a card game with so few barriers and so little segregation between its players. And because you don't feel like a filthy second-class casual for not buying cards, Legends of Runeterra might have a good future ahead of it. Overall, clever innovations and a generous economy make Legends of Runeterra easy to love. It has a lot to offer as it enters the digital card game ring. Exploring the League of Legends universe in card form is enjoyable and addictive.